Let's talk about social media, because I think that it's very important to that, because whenever you take a mutual action with somebody, that gives you something to talk about. And it's, there's two sides of network building, right? Particularly with social media, there's the actual, I'm your friend activity, but then there's here's the stuff that I share, right? So if me and Joe do something, I take a video of it and post it to Facebook, and you see it, you're like, hey, wait a second. Joe is somebody that shares, similar values, or at least similar activity with George. I like doing those things. Boom, you have the beginnings of a network, right? And when you do that repetitively, you keep adding people, you keep telling people what you're doing and who you're doing it with, you build a network that way. So it's kind of an indirect form of network building, but it's still very much network building.
Networks are going to become more powerful than, say, representatives, like in a representative democracy?
Well, representatives are actually sort of the icon of a network, right? If we all have outsourced our responsibility for decision making to a representative, right, then that person, if they are communicating with their constituents, right, and they poll their constituents for an opinion, or have some sort of process to be able to do that, a representative is a network. I think a really good question, though, is how effective of a network are they? You know what I'm saying? I mean, are they actually leveraging their network? Is their network benefiting from their activities, or is the representative the one that receives all the benefit? And that gets more to sort of inequality, I guess.
Well, the power of networks from a narrative point of view, and I want to keep stressing that, from a narrative point of view, the power of networks goes like this. If we want our network to be very resilient, very agile, and very intelligent in an emergent way, as a network, we have to keep telling other people's stories, not just our own. If you and I spend, 10 minutes over a new ale at the brewery, of course we're going to share our own stories. What are you doing? What are you doing? But we need to start telling other people's. Do you know so-and-so? Right? Do you know Gus Caius at the hospital? He runs one of the hospitals here, and he has this whole green program, and it involves food. Who? Oh, I can hook you guys up. See, that's how networks build. Networks don't build because of resources or talents. They don't build because of needs. I mean, you look at every fragmented community, they have assets and resources and needs. They build because we tell each other stories on a regular basis. It kind of sparks that sense of curiosity. Oh, I need to talk to that person, right? They might be good to invite to our small act. I wonder what they're learning from an open source point of view that they might be willing to share, and I know exactly what I would want to share as well. And so there is enough to go around.
To me, it's simple. You have to publish the stories, for one thing. If you're not writing, posting pictures, shooting video, posting the video, the story isn't going to get out, right? It doesn't have, potential, especially if we, continue to rely on the mass media, right? I mean, because the mass media, again, is one of those institutions that's overwhelmed by content, right? There's bottlenecks that are called editors, and writers and things like that. We can take that into our own hands. We can have inexpensive video equipment. We can, have inexpensive hosting. We just take the time to edit and do things. Speaking of Maurice Small, but let's take the publicity of things into our own hands. Let's tell our own stories, right? The other aspect of it is, you have to build the networks. You have to understand how to build relationships with people, right? And if you can't build the relationship, don't expect somebody else to build that relationship for you, because that's actually their relationship then. They may be willing to leverage it, you know, to your benefit, but, you know, then they could go on and, you know, use it with somebody else, and it's not sustainable for you.
Right.
You know, so the two things are, you know, telling your own story and being able to find people to talk to. It's kind of easy with the internet, you know, but again, you know, you always have to think about who you're connecting with and think about that next circle of people, right? Who are the people that they know that you're not connecting with, and why aren't you connecting with them, and how do you connect with them?
Then we got people on the streets living in cars and whatnot.
Assets. We're surrounded by assets.
We got elevator shafts that are just, you know, rotting away.
Well, you know, again, I go back to the 4 conversations from the book, right? You know, assets are assets until you're generous with them, which then it becomes a gift conversation. That's the first time Maurice heard that.
Look, man!
But seriously.
Wayne! I'm glad we're alone.
Sort of.
Wayne, what's his name? Wayne Dryer?
Yeah, Wayne Dryer.
He talks about you're filming.
You got another quote?
You're filming, man. It's not going to work, man, because I'm not sitting still, dog.
That's fine, man. That's all part of it. It's part of the excitement.
Wayne said, unless you give it up, you can't receive. If you give me, man, the universe give me back at you. Give me your lungs.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me your heart and kidneys.
Right.
Give it.
Right.
We hold on to property, man. Let that shit go and feed people. Let the building go and house half of Cleveland, probably, in one of these empty 18-story buildings. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what though? But how would that look? You know, if you're Mayor Jackson, okay, or you're Representative Tim Ryan or whatever, and you say, hey, you know what? We're turning over a city asset to house the homeless. You know, you'll totally be vilified by the business community in the next election. You know, seriously. I mean, they'll probably cook up some sort of scandal to get you out of office.
What happened to Dennis? WWDD. What would Dennis do?
Exactly.
He was vilified and cutthroated, man.
He still is.
He still is.
What has it been, 30 years?
30 freaking years. I was a young man. And I'll be doggone if he's not a solid citizen, well respected and loved, man. Giving all his freaking life, man. Something's gotta give. Something's gotta give.
Hey.